Hello and welcome to day 154 of 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tomlins Nyback, and pleasure to have me with you. A little housekeeping. I've noticed I can't tell if Google is giving me some issues about the videos because of a particular server I kind of go through, so I don't get much feedback on what's actually being seen publicly. Working on that if you find that my videos are hit and miss. Okay, now getting to it, we are talking about black folks in America, black issues, white issues, dominance, and past oppressions, slights, slavery, economics, all the above between white and black people in America. Two big thoughts emerge as I continue this project. First thought has two parts. The first part is for the mind of black people. Are black people still living slavery ways? Do we still are we still holding on to our own fears, levels of ignorance, expectation that society is supposed to give us stuff, those kind of things. Same side, other side of the same coin as the white mind, expectation of favor, privilege, moving about with so much freedom in not just the world, not just the country, but the world in general. It's just the world is a very white world, dominated in that way. So the black people in America, especially those descended from slaves, it represents such a fraction of the population. You know, uh, you'd think that there'd be some potency there. You know, uh, I think about the Hmong. They've been getting some notoriety on TV here and there. They started out a small group of people and individuals in various communities, but they found a way to hold it together, maintain loyalty, and prosper. You know, um, Not so with the black folks. Now, there's a lot of difference. There's pressures within and without, um, but we don't have that same luxuries and privileges that white people do. You know, and we can look at history where white folks have uh, either by subterfuge, manipulating, through manipulating laws and things of that nature, or whether it's just sacking outright black communities. We find history dotted with those episodes. All this we talk about here at Racial Change. Now, my second thought has to do with financial literacy for black folks. Do we understand how money works, what money's doing, what we're doing with it, how we're spending it? One of our a black, I'll say, rapper, he's now, I guess, in the Guinness Book of World Records, whatever. I just saw a headline on my feed, the first billionaire rapper, and I wonder, does that mean that we've arrived as a group? Is everything okay now? Or am I wasting my breath here? This man has apparently, cracked the code and is just on his way, just ascending. I don't know about the group. You've heard me talk in the past about the fireworks We got black and white fireworks out there, big explosions and all that, and notable people that worked hard, earned what they got. I'm not trying to take anything from them, but what's the group? What's the nature of the group? You know, well, what's that in the minds? I wonder if he will educate, outreach. Now, having that much money, he probably has some altruistic endeavors going on in the community and things like that. But are people learning? The people in this circle learning, understanding. Having a financial mind. How does a black person, rapper, get there? You know. But financial literacy. But I will say, overall, black folks probably are not well versed how money works, where it goes. I'm reading an incredible book right now called A Creature from Jekyll Island, and I'm reading some incredible stuff about the United States giving out these failed loans. And I was really touched actually yesterday watching some commercial television, and one of the stations is pretty notable for having outreach for animals, handicapped kids, and starving kids in Africa. And for the starving people in Africa, that is that kind of outreach is actually indicative of greedy governments. It's like, well, why are these people hungry? Doesn't their government has no welfare program? Well, from reading this book, Creature from Jekyll Island, I'm finding out these governments, the African governments, receive these loans and move people around, destroy land. People aren't benefiting from it, and hence you have starving kids on the television that need emergency intervention because their government is so greedy and apathetic to the fate of the people. Um, you know that's so common in Africa, and the book names some Central American, South American nations as well. Point being is money is a power. It makes things run in the world, and black folks um, need some understanding of the spending, understanding inflation, understanding how detrimental it is to borrow from the future. Small people like me not having like resources and uh, investment cash flow properties, things like that. Some of the big weightier stuff that people don't know about. People are we renting? If we're renting a space, we're paying someone's mortgage. It's like, wow, what a deal! I need I need some ownership here. So those are the kind of the things we need to get with. I'm surrounding myself. I actually have a lot of white mentors. It's not all bad. White's not all bad. Um, who understand money, who are ready to freely talk to me and help me get my head around some of the concepts that they've been dealing with since what their late teens, early 20s. Right. That's what we need. Now, I'm inspired by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. I've read 3 of his works. And first um, book I read is the book I want you to get. If you get only one of his works, get this one. A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. That will light the fire under you, I hope. If not, I'm going to check your pulse. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. And Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. Behind me, you'll see the hashtag #US2 symbol. Find Black women conversing, supporting one another there. Got to give them a shout out. There are differences, some fundamental differences between men and women. We're going to acknowledge that. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a black-face book. And if you can't find your community, which I will say is pretty hard to do on the internet now, start your own and see what happens. I got a handful of followers, a private email list. Who knows what can happen? And maybe one day it'll explode and I'll be the first billionaire YouTube talk person. With God, all things are possible. And finally, we have story time. Uncle Tom's Cabin, Harriet Beecher Stowe's phenomenal work, fictional life of a slave named Tom, obviously, but it also helps us illustrate some very tangible, concrete things going on in slavery America, and how those things may impact us in the present. So, what I like about this show is story time, and we are in story time. We used to take big chunks and chapters of the text, Uncle Tom's Cabin, in a full session, summarized. But then we were just laying the foundation. Now we're slowing down a little bit because now things are getting more complicated. Tom's been sold, and we've got runaway slaves now, and more characters. We're going to introduce some more characters today. So we want to slow down and really grasp as much as we can. Interestingly, we're going to talk about white folks for the rest of the time out of Uncle Tom's Cabin, because we got to lay the groundwork for Tom's new assignment. I don't know what slaves called it. They just got bought and sold, traded to one plantation to another. So Tom is now, we're going to talk about the St. Clairs down in Louisiana. We talked a little bit about Tom's trip. A lot of activity and drama in there. We're going to slow down, and Harriet Beecher Stowe is going to lay the groundwork for this new family. It's a little bit, well, it's going to be interesting. I've read the book. I want you to get the book and read it too, but Tom is going to have a different experience. But first, let's find out about some of these characters. We met Eva. She's the one that fell off the boat and Tom saved. Tom did not get Meritorious Manumission. I forgot to check the dates on when that was instituted versus the writing of Harriet Beecher Stowe's book. But we keep Meritorious Manumission kind of up high in our minds anyway, to understand that that was an option in slavery times. Not the whole period of slavery, the hundreds of years, but instituted as another control mechanism on the slaves. One of the big aspects, three big aspects: helping the production of the plantation, putting the slaves, putting white life before a slave's life, and big ones was to inform on slaves thinking about escaping or revolting like that. And that the Meritorious Manumission caused division in the slaves. There was distrust. Who's talking about who, and power and control, and all those things are happening. So we put aside a little bit momentarily the genesis of the relationship between the older black man and the young white girl. We talked about Bojangles and Shirley Temple, and we're going to talk more about that. Well, I've not run into much yet to see the transformation where some of these relationships we're going to see in Harriet Beecher Stowe's text become forbidden and toxic. I was even a victim of some of America's turn on the original, uh, the text that informed that pure relationship. But we'll get to that down the road. Today we're going to introduce a few people of the St. Clare family. Augustine St. Clare, son of a wealthy planter down Louisiana, heavily French influenced, French and Canadian, Louisiana, and all that, New Orleans, very French, the French Quarter, and all these places. He's a French, uh, this French family. You could probably trace his family way back and all that. Some of the groundwork. We're just laying some groundwork here. St. Clare Augustine St. Clare had met a woman in the north, and he was very much in love with her and doing his best to keep up that relationship. But the girl was apparently the ward of a wealthy family up there, and they stepped in, they intercepted letters, they cut off communication and all that. So St. Clare moved on in that. Just let her go. In St. Clare's depression and um, you know confusion, she. I don't know how women feel, but I feel like when I'm hooked up with a girl, if I'm not receiving attention, I feel like her heart's been stolen by someone else, and I go through changes and stuff. So St. Clare, the character here in the story, has the similar feelings. She stopped writing. There's nothing left. So he gets into the social life in Louisiana. Through that, he meets the finest Southern belle in the social circle. He's wealthy, so he's got that taken care of. Money, helps work on that, and he makes it so that he courts her, he marries her. The Southern belle, all the men, the suitors have been after her. She's very attractive. She's wealthy to boot. So it's a lot of win-win situations for St. Clare. As he moves on, it's not a bad substitute for the woman he was in love with up north. Um, However, right, we don't have much of a story unless there are twists and dramas in there. However, after he marries the Southern belle, beauty, rich, he finds her very spoiled. She was an only child. Her father doted on her heavily, and he's disappointed. The honeymoon period of marriage. I've never been married, but there's a honeymoon period. Wears off. The reality sets in about this individual that he's married. She's cold. She's selfish. She's a bit of a hypochondriac. The text. She's not sickly. She just complains about ill health. And she's fussing at drafts, and she probably complains about the heat, and it's too cold, and on and on and on. It just keeps rolling out. This is a girl. She's been cared for, by her father. Had servants, wealthy, so the world is hers. When she farts, someone else says, "Excuse me." That's how, you know, centered her world is on her, and and she's fine with it. She cares. I won't go as far as to say she cares for no one, but we know people like this. Just they got a blind spot, but they're apathetic about the needs, cares, concerns of those around them. Uh, we just have those people in the world. In his realization of this ice cold ice queen that he has married, her name is Marie. Uh, in that he gets a letter one day from this the original focus of his affection from up north, and the story is revealed that her guardians wanted her, intended her to marry their son. So they interfered with letters, grabbed her letters, stopped his letters. Got all in between it, messed everything up. And that's happened. I know that has happened to me before. Sometimes, someone says, some girls in the past tell me they didn't get letters and stuff like that. Well, that's because somebody, has all these good intentions and well-meaning, but they're just being nosy and busy and insecure, and they know what's right. They've got the letter. It's the kind of thing you see in a soap opera a lot. People intercepting messages, and suddenly some critical uh, something critical needs to happen with somebody, and it's all up in there and messes everything up. That's what this woman's guardians did. I read a book, college. I don't remember the name, but this Hispanic maid in a gated white community, you know, uh, had gained a lot of favor and confidence and trust with a white family, and the white family started pressuring the maid's daughter to hook up with the son. That kind of thing is going on. So the mysteries reveal St. Clare is probably, he's very almost near suicide at this point. Marie notices this change in her husband, and the text just says she's just so cold and so selfish, and like her her MO is like when she is um, when people are sick around her or in need, she goes into more need. She goes into overkill with her need. She elevates her need. So he's needy. He's obviously broken. Something I would recognize that, and I would say, "Hey, what's up, man? What's up going on?" Marie is not like that at all. Marie sees someone in that condition, and she swoons. That's who Marie is. Very selfish and needs that to be that center of attention. And she's somewhere in her past, she's found being sickly or complaining about her environment, her body, uh, gets her some attention. She lives off of that. So her response to seeing him all messed up is kind of get it together. Let's get back into shape. Come on, I'm the one um, hurting. You know, she was having a beautiful day until she saw him messed up, so she elevated being messed up. Oh boy, she has no ability to minister to his soul. You don't want to marry a woman like that. I've been attracted to some women, and fortunately, like I've been attracted to women with this blind spot, so I know what Harriet Beecher Stowe is talking about here, and I'm so glad that I didn't hook up with them because they are cold. They're not bad people. I'm not saying anything like that, but it's just people clueless about that. So I'm glad that some of these women I've never hooked up with because they don't have. I'm needy as well emotionally and stuff. I fare pretty well on my own. Actually, I've been uh, single and celibate for a couple years now, so I'm finally cool with it. Uh, but if I was, you know, with someone fine like that, I gotta get some feedback, baby. Damn, she has no ability to minister to a hurting soul. This is, St. Clare's double whammy now. It's like, wow, it was okay when she's laying on the couch complaining. Now I realize when I'm hurt, I'm getting no feedback. Fortunately for him, Eva is born. Somehow they have sexual relations, which is impressive, given the nature of the narrative. It's a cold woman, so I don't see a lot of sexual intimacy being a cornerstone of that relationship. But anyway, Eva is born, the little girl who Tom saved. But now Eva's born. St. Clare, this light goes on in his life. He throws all his attention into Eva. Marie is very jealous, and this is sad too, because Marie got that kind of attention from her father, but now she sees it happening with her daughter. She elevates her sicknesses and complaints and all this, and that becomes even useless near being an invalid. Um, Hopefully, she weaned Eva properly. That kind of thing you're concerned about with Marie. St. Clare finally gets his head together. He's concerned about Eva's well-being, so he goes up north and gets his cousin named Ophelia. Ophelia St. Clare is his cousin from Vermont to help with Eva and her complaining mother, Marie. So we're going to end there. Those so 3 more figures to digest are going to figure in. We're going to get into there's some more people to be introduced, all through the text, but at the St. Clare plantation, we just want to get our heads around some of these individuals that are going to be a part of Tom's new life. And I'm sure we'll run back into Tom the next day or so. That's day 154 out of the way. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. Come on and meet us tomorrow for some racial change.